Um, yeah, thank you so much again, everyone, for joining today's Digital Pioneers Inspirational Talk. As you know, this is the last inspirational talk we have for this program. So it's been 6 months of us doing this, and soon it will culminate to the pitching event. And today, we are very privileged to have someone who's basically um, journey you can all relate to. So he is a visionary speaker and founder of multiple ventures, which he'll tell you all about later on. But he is also the founder of YOUNQ. So he is in the organization is a CIC supporting young men, young people to learn more about how they can basically break through in life, whether that's through wellness and empowering them with important tools and access to opportunities. Similarly to what Launchit is doing, and we are hoping to be able to collaborate in future projects as well together. So without further ado, before that, let me just remind everyone, like if you are planning to pitch for our September virtual pitch event, just make sure that you have gone through the eligibility requirements, which is you have to have been able to attend 3 masterclasses and have attended your mentoring sessions. But you can go to our page for more information. But yeah, without further ado, take it away, Michael.
All right. Thank you, Eduardo. Appreciate the introduction. Hope everybody's good. I'm hoping to bring a lot of value here today. Before I start, I love to get to know the people that I'm talking to. I see a lot of people with videos off. That's fine. I'm guessing maybe you're in a car or you're driving and whatever. If anyone can turn it on, feel free. But also, I want to understand anyone's ventures. So if anyone started a venture or looking to start a venture, can at least one or two people just give me some insight into yourself before I start talking about me? Yeah, go for it, Kieran, man. Go for it.
Hey, sorry, I'm literally just getting sorted, so I'll
No
switch off.
worries,
But
man.
yeah, I started a artist services agency where we help independent artists to grow in their next stage of their journey. Started that about a year and a half ago. We've so far worked with over 10 artists in that time and have four we're currently working with. I guess where we're like at in terms of our like ethos is trying to be the change in the music industry that we want to see that we don't currently see
Okay.
in a lot of the areas. And yeah, just really now focusing on growing it to the next stage where it exists as a full-fledged agency outside of myself and the other director and intern, and it's sort of more self-sustaining
Yeah.
to a degree. But yeah,
Amazing, man. What's it called?
upstream artist.
Upstream artists, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, man. Good idea. It's a great idea. Okay, amazing. KB, good to see your video on as well. Do you want to talk about your business as well?
Yeah, thanks. Hi, nice to meet you guys. My business, we're about 2 months off launching. It's a online platform which is basically, it's quite a big one. It's a consent-based social media site. So all of our imagery and like Kieran was saying, for musicians as well, controlling their IP and their ownership of what they're creating through various distribution models. Currently, they're not capable to control at all. And even things like WeTransfer, in their last update, they said that anything could be data farmed. So if you transfer a file on WeTransfer, they own the rights to replicate it, which is wild, especially considering that that's a standard practice for most industries, just to send files quickly that way. So we've built an alternative platform where you are completely protected from any form of data farming, and it also helps. So in my, background's film and TV, but I've got a big pull for human rights, and we're seeing like a rise in deportations and specifically targeted communities with facial recognition scanning. And because our site has no capacity to do that, we're specifically building a platform where people can't be targeted because of any preset profiles.
Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. So you're launching the platform, it's been built and everything. You're just literally launching it in two months, yeah?
Yeah, so we're user testing at the moment, and it's scary and it feels like a massive responsibility. Yeah, that's me.
No, congratulations, man. That sounds really good. Sounds really good.
Oh,
Okay.
and it's called Credo B, before I forget.
Credo B, yes. Okay,
Yeah.
Credo B. I'm gonna put it inside the chat as well because I wanna get to know everyone. Admin staff member. Okay, cool. Amazing. Plan B, C, D. So like, okay, great. Nice to meet you, Sarah. So, thank you to Kieran and KB for that. I like to know who I'm speaking to. It helps me to adapt things as much as possible. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to make this as impactful as possible and just share from my experience, right? So first things first is who am I? And I was doing like a talk / pitch kind of thing a few weeks ago. And I said that, you know what, I've actually jumped out of planes 15,000 feet in the air. I've done Muay Thai fighting on low, couple of weeks notice. I've done a lot of scary stuff, but up until recently, talking about my story was one of the scariest things. And that's because when I got to a point in my life where I wanted to change things around, I decided to do it without sort of sharing my story and leading with my story first. Now, would I go back and do that again? That's a different question. But, at the moment, I know that it's powerful and it's important for me to do this, especially with my new venture, CIC YOUNQ, as Eduardo was talking about. So I'll just talk a bit about me. So I'm from South London, born and raised, but my mum actually came to this country from Nigeria when she was 17 years old, had me at 21. My dad didn't quite get along or make it there. So, my dad wasn't really in my life. And that kind of exposed me to a lot of different vulnerabilities and temptations, which ended up, having me go down the wrong way, which interestingly enough, I never planned on, doing crime or getting into that way of life. But I guess that is just what I fell into through the desire to both help my family, being the oldest of 4 siblings, and also just wanted to live a better life. Do you get what I mean? So based on that, I ended up getting in all sorts of trouble with the law, getting in all sorts of problems in the area, going to prison, different, just a whole lot of trauma that I wouldn't really wish on anyone. But, I'm glad that I went through that, which sounds crazy to say, because it gave me a raging passion and fire to help the young people and the young men specifically of today who are exposed to so much more violence and temptations and negative sort of persuasion and infliction. So, when people ask me or say, but is it why just young men? But I say, well, 96% of the prison population is men, right? 83% of teenage knife crime victims is men. And I think was it about 70 to 80% of homicides in general is men. So like boys are very exposed to that side of things, and there's a lot of dangers, and that's why I personally am really dedicated to helping them change their life. So, I've done quite a few things. I'll talk a little bit about who I am and what I've done now. So we'll go back to that journey a little bit, all right? So here's me, my younger days, and what this picture kind of represents is that as much as, I got into a lot of negative things, I've always been an entrepreneur from early. So I had, I was doing events at 16 years old, boat parties, filling out 600 people, selling loads of tickets. I had a clothing line, loads of different things, right? And I guess the main issue that I faced that didn't allow me to pursue and see them through was that when I ran into an issue, I'd quit. And I didn't realize that's what I was doing. So for example, the boat party I was just talking about, well, I remember the second party we did, again, we sold about 500 tickets, and someone had an issue with a security guard. They had to turn the boat back. Police came, and essentially we weren't allowed to use that boat company anymore. And we just thought, well, the boat was the whole USP. That's it. And that's it. And we didn't do it. And if you look at it years from now, even then, but years from now, events are such a big, money maker. Let's just call it that. There's so much potential with events. So if I had continued that, and that's why I really lead with that mantra of like, you never quit. And that's why the CIC was born. Okay. So that kind of represents that. This represents my life, a point in my life. I was 21, I'm 29 now. And I come out of prison and I completely just like, switched everything up. I wouldn't even, you get the little 10p Tesco bags. I wouldn't even take a Tesco bag for free. Do you know what I mean? Like completely, I just want to live my life the honest way. I don't care if I remember sitting in a cell thinking that I don't care if I'm a janitor, like I will build a janitor cleaning business and I'll be successful through that. I'm not doing crime again. It's not worth it. I've wasted so much time. And that was that changing point. And then I ended up getting my first job. I was working for Samsung as like a representative for their TVs and stuff like that. And that was my first job literally at like 21. But what it really helped me with is learning and understanding sales. I then went on to build, fitness was a big thing for me all through that time. As you can see, I was pretty skinny in that first picture. And I think at 16, I walked into the gym. My friend actually took me to the gym. I started training. It transformed my life, just in my confidence, gave me structure. So I think going down the route of being a PT was always going to kind of call my name. And that's what I did. And that was the first sort of business I went into. So I was a personal trainer, got qualified. It was actually probation that helped me to actually pay for that. But I got qualified. Then I went to, and became an online coach. My friend came from America. He was one of my best mates. He was playing football in America. He came back, he was doing the same thing. And he was like, why don't we do this online? So we started doing online coaching. We invested in mentorships and we built that up. And that kind of, was 2-3 years of grind. But that got me to a place of not having to work for anyone, working from my laptop, being able to travel and essentially like just living the time freedom and the location freedom based life. We then teamed up. So that's my mate there. And we created something called OHBAcademy. When we were building our online coaching businesses, we noticed that we were paying a lot of mentors. We probably at the time spent about 20 to 30,000 pounds on different people to teach us digital marketing, paid advertising, all of this stuff. And we realized that there wasn't that much like Black people, doing it or other ethnicities. And we said, well, like there's a lot of limiting beliefs that might trigger if you don't see any type of mentor or anyone that looks like you. So we came in and we done that. So out of that sort of, let's say, hot gap that we saw in the market, we was able to build that, we was able to accumulate around 750,000 within 3 years as using the OHBAcademy. And it's crazy because I still remembered how we got our first customer. I'll talk about that. And it was like not a penny in. We didn't start with literally a penny. So it was, it was a great learning experience. Now I'll go back to just like where I'm at now. So I'm doing a few things as you can kind of see. So Scaling Edge is our latest venture. That's me, my business partner and best mate, and then John, our CTO. And essentially we are helping 7-figure businesses to rebuild their organizations with AI and automation to save a lot of time, to make more money and just to capitalize, right? So that's Scaling Edge. That's our, our flagship thing that we're doing. Then we also have the OHBAcademy that I talked to you about before. So the OHBAcademy we're rebirthing it again. We actually took a pause of it to do Scaling Edge. It was a big risk. I know it was literally making money. Everything was good. And we just said that, listen, we want to like go with like what's going to bring in a bigger pie. And there was also some other things as well that I'll express. But we're relaunching OHBAcademy at a different capacity now, where we're still going to help these coaches because we've got so much testimonials. Lives change. Like literally, I've seen people, go from working to quit their job and just be traveling the world and whatever from our program. So we're doing that at more of a mentorship approach, not a mentorship, a group approach. And then YOUNQ. So that's a school that I worked with through another charity actually called Social Art. And that's kind of what really ignited the flame for YOUNQ with me. I always knew I wanted to help the young people and young boys specifically. And just having, people in my network who are close with Social Art and just doing a bit of work with them. We went into a school, we did a program that just ignited the fire again. And now I'm fully, involved in that. I've got, somebody helping me to build, and on the UNQ side, we're about to do our first mountain hike and boot camp for boys as well this year. And that's me again on the right, just traveling, living life. One thing is that, I'm still pursuing and chasing so much, but I am truly just getting to enjoy a life of freedom. So always remember on those days where business is a bit tough or a bit, you've got to grind through it. It's good to remember and know that, well, what I was always intending, which was that location, that time freedom, that peace of mind, and getting to run your schedule, is something that I'm living right now. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into 12 tips. So they're going to be like a mix of tactical, mindset kind of vibe, and then practical straight after. What we'll do is for each step / slide, I will accept like a question. Please make sure you're a go-getter. Don't just be quiet. There's something to learn. I can learn from you guys. You can learn from me. So I'm going to take one question per slide. And then at the end, we'll save time for questions, because I've done the whole let everyone jump in and ask questions as we talk, but the flow will probably not let us get all the way through it. Okay, cool. So the first things first is, and the way I've done this, actually, when I was building this, I did it in like a workflow mind map so that it can represent the journey of building your business as an entrepreneur from the start, and then get into that place where you're making money, you're happy, the business is thriving and flying. So first things first for me is always going to be secure your income. I see Sarah mentioned something about diversifying, and I think that's super important. A lot of people push the whole one thing narrative and going all deep into the business. But I do definitely think it's important. And yeah, definitely, I think one income is dangerous. I think cash flow is king, right, in a business. And someone said that, cash flow is the oxygen of the business. The minute that starts to get a bit iffy or tricky, then like it just doesn't even become enjoyable anymore. Do you understand? So you need to start with it in the right place. So don't be in a hurry to rely on the business, it's cash flow. That's what I would say. What I see people starting business, I'm thinking, all right, before you start this business, something had to pay your bills, something had to be your bread and butter, something had to, keep the lights on. So don't be so quick. I know that you see the YouTube videos or podcasts now, you want to quit everything and go for it, but it's a bit too glamorized. I did that. You know what I mean? I did that, if I'm honest with you. But in hindsight, would I have done it again? No, there's no rush. You got to think in that 3 to 5 years term, right? So if this is something you're going to be doing for the next ongoing years, then what's a few months, 6 months, half a year, or even a year of grinding it out so that you don't have to rely on that? And I think that's one of the biggest blessings of the OHBAcademy that I showed you, and why we was able to grow so fast, was for the first year, we didn't touch the money. We just every client we got as it built, it was left in the bank, right? Because essentially we was already doing our online coaching businesses individually. We had both gotten that to 6 figures. So that was what was paying the bills for us. So we didn't rely on that. And it was tempting, but we just left it. So when we did start to pay, we already had like a, what's it called? Like a run, a run, oh, I forget the word, runway. There you go. Like a 3, 6, however many month runway. Okay. So really think about this before, you start your business. Make sure that you don't, cause yourself more issues than you need. The next thing that's super important is mindset. All right. I definitely believe that the first year of running your business, you should be super focused on improving your mindset more than anything. A lot of people will talk to you about this, but I'm very practical in it. So I'm just going to go straight through it. Read and act. Reading is still super beneficial. Like there's no way around it. Like reading will help you surpass, your competitors, because you get to live multiple lives rather than just living based on your own knowledge. So definitely reading is good, but making sure you're acting too. You can definitely get into that flow of just reading all the time and then on to the next book and not really, enacting anything that you've learned, right? The next thing I say is hypnotherapy. When I say hypnotherapy, you got the traditional way that we all see it, where you got the guy holding a clock and he's turning it and he's making you go sleep and you know what I mean, and eat pie or stop eating pie or whatever it may be. But typically, I just look at hypnotherapy as connecting with your subconscious mind. Okay. We all have struggles and we all have limiting beliefs. I don't know if anyone's heard of limiting beliefs, thought about it. Is anyone familiar with limiting beliefs? Or is that something? Yeah, everyone see someone putting their hand up. Cool, Kieran put their hand up. So we all have limiting beliefs that we've garnered from our childhood, like from the earliest stages of our lives. And as much as you read books or go to networking events or hear inspirational talks, all of that stuff is amazing, but it is not changing Jack, right? It is not changing Jack. You have to do self-work, okay? So hypnotherapy, the easiest quick win you can get is that you need to understand who you are, and that's why I talk about the U test, and I'm going to like explain that a little bit. Understand what your limiting beliefs are, and then before you go to sleep and when you wake up, listen to some kind of mindset affirmation sort of playlist as you're going to sleep and and first when you're waking up. Yeah. Those who really want to win will do it. It's up to you. It changed my life because I had deep money mindset limiting beliefs, right? Deep ones. Because like I said, my mom came from Nigeria, right? My family, like most of my family, 90% of my family are actually still in Nigeria. And I'm not talking about, I'm related to the king of that. No, I'm talking about in the village. You get what I'm trying to say to you? So when they've come here, they have a scarcity mindset. That's just, they have a scarcity mindset. Do you know what I'm trying to say to you? I remember it clearly. And these little things and words and sayings, they just stay, and you're going to lose to your competitors if you keep that mindset because someone else doesn't have that. So when they're thinking about money, it's in a different way. They'll spend money, they'll ask for more money, they'll do all these things that will just help them get ahead, and you have to get that edge. So like I said, it doesn't matter how many inspirational talks you go to, you have to fix you first, okay? And then learn sales. So I think I can dive in a little bit deeper. So I said read and act. These are the three books that when I thought, what are my favorite books? These are my favorite three. Can't Hurt Me is by David Goggins. That's just a straight mindset grip book. And I'll say straight, trigger warning for that book. It's not just for everyone and anyone, because he does talk about some things that may trigger if you've been through like, physical abuse, as a child, right? So not everyone's ready for that. But if you're in a place in your life where you're just ready to be like motivated and tough and grit, I think that's definitely a great book. Then Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Obviously, he uses the avenue of property when he's talking about like investment and so on and so forth. But I still believe the book is just powerful in general. Again, for that whole money mindset, because the way he talks about just being able to, how to deal with your money and, just income and property and stuff like that, it just kind of releases a lot of limiting beliefs about what can be done. And it's a quick read. So I recommend that. The last set of books that I kind of recommend, I've merged them together because I say they're both good to some degree. So the one thing, again, it's good to some degree because of the fact that it's very much based on you must do one thing. And I don't know how much I believe in that anymore. I think that it was a great once upon a time, but I think that diversifying is okay. I think trying multiple things is okay. I think, for example, if you're KB and you've got the social media side, and then you also have like these runs or something or little meetups you do, like which is like an event sort of diagonal that you're going off of it, but it's still related. I don't think KB should be discouraged from doing that because all her eggs should be inside the site basket. I think all these things can actually play with work with each other, and one might, help to, spur the other because something maybe this one does well for a minute whilst this is getting on his feet and so on and so forth, right? And then the book Traction, I think Traction is like the manual of business in general. Just literally like you read it and it just gives you, oh, geez, like you just have it just shows you everything in terms of how business should work. But I think that if you read the whole thing, if you aim to read the whole thing in full, it will go past where you're at. It is talking to businesses that are doing hundreds of millions and are hiring multiple employees. So I will just read it up until where you're ready and then keep revisiting it. So those are my top three books, okay? The U test, this is something that was going to be really at the heart of YOUNQ, my CIC for young boys. And I think it's just a great turning point in your life when you can really get to know you again, fall in love with you again, and really just understand yourself so you know how to thrive and win. And that's what really changed and helped me. So what is it you love? Who do you love? And who do you want to be with no compromise? Okay, I think when you can understand that stuff about yourself, then you can lead with yourself. Because I remember I had 5 therapy sessions. And I remember talking to the therapist, and the biggest nugget she gave me was you are not your business, which sounds like, oh, that's simple. But no, like there was a time where my heart, my soul, my energy, my mood was tied into the business and it was negative. You are a separate being, you're a separate entity. If something happens with a business and you have to pivot, you can still go again. Most successful entrepreneurs do that anyway. So you actually have to have a level of detachment from your business. You know, being too attached to your business can make you make the wrong decisions because maybe you're all in and you're betting too much on it when you should be a bit more resourceful because you're thinking, I don't want this to affect my life too much and the things I love and who I love, so on and so forth, right? So the U test is very powerful. And then how to learn sales, maybe part-time sales job, maybe you do it already, take a bit more, you know, pride in what it is you're doing if you're already in sales because the things you're learning, you're not even kind of aware of. Watch sales content. There's a lot on YouTube. There's a lot of, you know, sales calls you can even do. You can even go on ChatGPT and use their AI voice thing and have a sales call. And I think that's beneficial for everyone. Even if you don't directly sell, I just think what it teaches you is amazing, right? And then the best book on sales and negotiation that I've recommended to probably over 100 people is Never Split the Difference. It's by an ex-FBI hostage negotiator. And it just talks about, it's not even directly about selling for money or anything like that. It's just about like the art of negotiation, tonality, how you have to change your tonality, just it mirroring, like it's an amazing book. It's crazy. And I would listen to the audio book. I wouldn't even read the physical because then he actually demonstrates the tonality and stuff like that. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? Because I know that I speak very fast. Any questions? No? All right, cool. Let's blaze through this. So number 3 is validate your idea. I think especially where we are in society and technology, it's the best time to really, the easiest time rather, to validate your idea before going into it. And I think this can be done at any point. Be dynamic. Don't be afraid to start again or to make iterations because you may be wrong about something and you'd rather know it now than just close your eyes and run straight for the next year and then realize that, I should have just done this, right? And then time changes and stuff like that. So I'll definitely use like AI, whether you use ChatGPT, Claude, whatever you use for research, like what's the TAM for this business model, total addressable market, how big is this opportunity? What are the potential pitfalls? What issues or potential avenues are you not seeing or you missing with this idea, right? Give the AI context both of your business and also of how you want it to be. You know, if I'm talking to AI, I have to tell it like, don't sugarcoat it for me. Don't be nice. Don't beat around the bush. Be direct. You actually have to describe that. That's how you're going to get the best answers. So it's a great time to just work with AI to help you in the building stages. I think it's never been a better time to actually set up a business. It makes your life 10 times easier. So validate your idea. Don't be scared of hearing something that you don't want to hear because yes, it might be a bit tough. You might have put all your eggs and thoughts into doing it a certain way, but you're going to save so much time in the interim. Cool. Next thing, I talked about OHBAcademy and how we pivoted after, 3 years of, growing substantially every single year and, things all seeming great. And this is the reason why. Build your dream business, okay? Know what's right for you. Think like a recruiter. Why do I say think like a recruiter? Most people build a business just thinking of, all right, I want to do this, I'm good at this, blah, blah, blah. But are you going to want to do that for the next 5-10 years in the same capacity? Thinking like a recruiter is saying that how am I going to hire the best people to take care of this? Or how am I going to hire to scale this? Not just I'm going to do it for myself. So when you're thinking of how this business runs and how you're going to build it to run, don't just think of it as something you're just going to be so hands-on with. It's actually like the worst thing to do to make everything totally dependent on you, at a small scale, at a large scale. So you've got to build systems and you've got to build lifestyle. What's this one? Message? Okay, that's AI. Yep. So yeah, definitely think of a recruiter, think like a recruiter, think lifestyle. So for us, it was a case of within around our first 1.5 years, we built it as like a one-to-one mentoring service. And that was so dependent on like one-to-one calls. So you've got this business, right? That, you know, a big part of the reason you built it online is because you're traveling and or you want to travel, right? And you're in Jamaica or you're in Egypt or you're wherever, and you got to stop the middle of this holiday to go and have a call with somebody for an hour, and then this person doesn't even necessarily want to take on the advice, or they just want a bit of coddling and stuff like that, right? That's not my dream business. But I didn't think enough about that at the start. And the interesting thing is, you may say, well, Michael, the money, and then you just pay someone to do it, and so on and so forth. Yeah, but there's always a resistance that is caused when you're not really enjoying the process. Does that make sense? So if you're not really enjoying it, then there's an inner resistance to actually even scale it further. Okay. So definitely when you're thinking about your business, don't just think about you now and what you're happy with now. Think about you in 5 years. Like, think about your life. That's why we talked about the U test. Like, are you looking to build a family? Are you looking to travel around the world? And you're not selfish for wanting to do that. Whether you want to help people or not, you're not selfish to want to do that at all. So build it around you. Kira, yes, go for it. Did I say your name? Or?
Yeah, yeah, no, you said it right. I wasn't sure to ask at the end, but I thought I'll wait just to
So I
think.
said, yeah, I said one
I'm
one question per slide just to let you know because I know you come in. So that's fine. Yeah,
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I'm at that stage with my business where I've had that realization in the last, I would say like 1 to 2 months, where um, exactly as you described with the like calls and stuff like that, and the one-to-one side of things. How did you pivot, or how would you recommend pivoting in that way whilst it's still already in a process of that's already implemented? We've started getting a little bit more processes in place to be able to try and scale out of that, but knowing that it's not prior to me having thought about that, but it's now at a space where we're already operating in that like level. But we also know that we want to be able to build it so that way I will be able to step out and
yeah,
have
yeah,
that in that type of
of
way.
course. Yeah, man. It sounds like you've already seen the potential issue, the pitfalls, and you've started already that process of reversing and making these changes. So all I would just say is to be relentless about that. It's never too late, you know, within the business. Whilst it's still going, the engine's still hot, you grow and keep this business like for the next 5, 10 years, however long. Don't feel that it's not too late to make big changes. Just be confident in it. As long as you know that I definitely need to change the way this is done because this is how I want to live going forward. Like, you know, if this is how I want to live my life. This was what doesn't agree with or work well with it. These are the changes that need to happen. Just be confident and just permit to still giving a great service and make sure they know it's still a great service, which I'll talk about fulfillment shortly anyway. Does that make sense? But I think well done to you for seeing that and just go in fully fledged with it. Don't hold back at all. Yeah, cool. So lifestyle, be dynamic and think future proof. Okay, think future proof. I get future proof is more of looking. It's a term we use a lot, and it's where is the world going as well. Do you get what I mean? So think about that aspect of it as well. Just keep that in mind. Cool. This is a big one. Keep marketing in mind. All right. What I mean simply is that when I'm starting a business now, right, whether with someone with on my own or whatever, I'm thinking about the marketing because that's the point where money changes hands. And I think too many people think about that later down the line. And I think it's important to think of it now. They always say that some people go hard on the how to sell it. Some people go in all in on the actual product itself. I think just keep marketing at the front of mind. I think that's the most important. If I'm honest with you, product market fit. Okay, how does it fit in the market? How is there a need for it? Is there an actual real desire for it? Okay, and then is it easy to sell? Okay, that's like the packaging that it's in. Okay, the packaging that is it easy to sell? All the way from the name to the colors to the sort of terminology and the culture of the business. Is it easy for someone, the people the market that you're targeting to just gel with it and just say, okay. And I think as you pay attention to what's happening in the world of business, you see other brands, you really pay attention, you will start to understand how to fit into certain markets. Like, all right, cool. Let's do this as a challenge. If you was going into the running industry today, how would you approach it? The running industry, maybe you wanted a shoe or you wanted to make some sort of gel. Like, what was be one of the first things you do? Anyone got an answer for that? Go on, Kate.
Um, I'd
Okay.
look at having an AI app that would be customizable to the person, so effectively work as like an AI trainer for each person. And that can work in synergy with any trainers that they do have, or work as a subsidizement if they don't have one, for example, in that way. So like customize everything from like meal plan to like, fitness style input in your like, yeah, your stuff from that and using AI in that way for it,
Yeah,
perhaps.
that's a really good idea. There's AI in this call as well, so I think someone might take that idea and run with it. To be fair, I think I should have worded the question better though. Actually, so I was talking more on a branding perspective, a packaging perspective, right? And in that case, then I would say, all right, I'm going to look at these run clubs. I'm going to look at I'm going to look at ASICs, all these things, and just see their style that they're coming with. I'm going to make myself able to fit in with the run club. Even if I'm doing the AI app that Kira's talking about, I'm gonna make myself just a perfect fit, a perfect way to just slip into the scene that's already existing. Too many of us try to go into a market and command the market. Whereas I remember Russell Brunson said something powerful that it's like you don't have to create traffic. Traffic already exists. You just have to direct it to yourself. Does that make sense? So fit in and keep that in mind, right? Synergy as well, super important. From the top to the bottom of your company and what it stands for, does it all make sense? Does it all gel? So that when someone sees it, it's just like, oh, that makes sense. You know what I mean? He was a musician and then now he helps artists and then so on. It's like it just all makes sense. That's why I talk about the story of the brand as well. Okay, there's a great book called Building a Story Brand, and it just, what's that thing that people are going to connect with as soon as they jump in. So same with OHB Academy, we were both online coaches, PTs, PTs that transitioned to doing online coaching that noticed that there was a lack of, diversity inside that industry in terms of mentors that said, all right, why don't we team up and do it? We've both done it successfully. And there it was. So it's easy. It's easy to trust. It's easy to understand. Okay, cool. Next is be resourceful, right? And this is a big affirmation of mine, which is I have everything I need right now to accomplish what I'm looking to accomplish. Really big. All right. I always believe that, we have what we need. And sometimes we're always looking and concentrating on what we don't have. But look, perfect action, fell forward. Okay. Start now. Start as soon as possible. I know you might want to perfect things, but literally one step at a day, one step at a time, and fell forward because you're going to make mistakes, but through the mistakes, you're going to learn. So just fell forward and just keep moving. Okay. And be resourceful. I think this is the biggest thing. We were working with a company who were trying to revolutionize the film industry with AI. And they had a CEO who I had the insight. I could just tell that the CEO was just a bit, of a bottleneck to the company. And that was because they was always concentrating on what they didn't have and doing this and that. And they was really after funding or they were surviving through funding. And they didn't really have that, money that they were making themselves, or just they didn't want to just get started because everything was like, oh no, we need this or we need these big cameras. An example is we can't do the content, we can't produce content because we're in the film industry and it needs to be like the highest of standards before we can actually do it, and because of that, they're not producing any content. So they're not visible. Where their message is enough. You don't need to be an amazing piece. You can use your phone, right? So be resourceful. Don't be held back. And then lastly of this sort of tactical section and sector of it is the who, not how. Okay. Collaboration. Who can make this whole thing 10 times easier for you? Okay. There's nothing wrong with sharing a pie. There's nothing wrong with teaming up with somebody if they have your whole market there. I always say some people are born with like a silver spoon, but I can't be resentful of that. Like, use your spoon. If I had the spoon, I'll use it as well, right? So, use things and find ways to just jump forward, okay? Don't feel like you always have to do the slow grind. So, like, we coach online coaches who are fitness people, and as long as there's a connection between it, I always push them to find influencers. I always tell them, listen, there are millions of micro influencers who are not just already in shape fitness people. They're like, average people. There's like, Sally, who's a mum and she's just an influencer because she's a mum and she makes content. Or John, who's just super organized and on with his computer, and he just makes organization tips. There's so many micro influencers. Reach out to them, okay? Offer them your product because you have a viable product that everyone understands. Collaborate and just sort out a contract/deal where they promote you for XYZ. And I've had a couple of people who took me up on that and they've actually pursued it and their business just grows and it just flows, okay? Because you've got someone and I always say, like, for example, we worked with another guy, PMAC Fitness. He's a fitness influencer, right? And him posting on his stories was like us paying £5,000 on ads. I kid you not. Like his stories, because I literally had access to his Instagram, everything like that. His stories will get like 5,000 views, like for every single one as you're clicking on it, right? If I'm running ads to get those same 5,000 people to consume that with that intent, I'm gonna spend thousands of pounds. Does that make sense? So collaborate, like who, not how, is so important. And people are scared to do these collaborations because they'll meet someone who's actually the perfect fit, is an influencer. They'll just land up on your door on your sales call, and you're just trying to charge them or treat them like any other normal person. It doesn't make sense. Like give it for free, do it for free. Richard Branson always says, don't give your stuff away for free. There's a guy running a whole business, yeah, and one of his biggest testimonials is Richard Branson because he gave Richard Branson his watch for free. I'm trying to say to you, and now that name holds weight, so that's key. Does anyone have any questions before I move on to the next section? First film, my time, budget, and resources. Yeah, Spike Lee. Is that what's it called? Good. Was it net something? What's that Spike Lee film?
I think that one's Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing. Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking. Amazing. All right, cool. Anyone got any questions? I see everyone's quiet today. No? I'll carry on then. I'll carry on. Hopefully you're getting value. You just can't talk at the moment. So let's get into a bit more of a practical side of things, right? Let's get it on time. So number 8 is be organized, okay? So I always say the organized will surpass the messy, okay? Business is about organization. Trust me, that is it. It's key. And I think that's why me being a fitness person and loving fitness, that helps. It goes hand in hand because I like to be very structured in everything I'm doing. So, from my supplements in the morning to my steps to whatever. So just being organized, it just transfers straight into business because it's literally, that's why it's called an organization, right? It's key. So when it comes to taxes, use the apps. I know sometimes it's a bit weird with it. Use the apps. Okay, Xero, QuickBooks, whatever one, that use it from the jump. Okay, before you're even making any money, just use it. Key documents, Google Drive. My Google Drive is organized. 1, 2, all my folders 1, 2, and then it's got the name of it, like all the way through. Okay, like make folders for all key documents and things that you need to build. Company manuals, SOPs, content plans, use Notion. Okay, you can use ClickUp as well. ClickUp is good. We use yeah, love that. But company manuals. Does anyone have a company manual? You do? Love that. Love that. No. Okay, cool. So company manual, just start today. It doesn't have to be the finished thing. I can start every one of you. You can talk to me and I'll just start your manual for you. Just do a folder in Notion today. Put the name of your company and just put the first thing that comes to mind, the easiest process Okay, and a company manual is like literally what the main processes are of the things you need to do. Yeah, to run. How does this company run? So if you go to holiday, you go to Dubai for 2 weeks and you don't want to look at your phone or your computer, can somebody else run it? That is the absolute key to building something sustainable. All right, because you're gonna want to hire. And if you're hiring, the next issue, this would be a whole nother webinar, is if you're hiring people, but you can't, manage them properly because you haven't really put in any standard operating procedures or processes. So start simple, start basic. And once you have Notion bookmarked on your browser and you get used to keep going on it, you'll start adding things as time goes by. And before you know it, you've got like a really great manual. And then key tracking sheets and data, use Google Sheets. Okay. This is key. Cool. Build like you're handling things over. This used to annoy me about my business partner because he will do the best piece of work. He'll build some AI agent, robot. He'll do whatever, yeah? And it was really, yeah, I've done it. And I'm like, did you Loom? Did you do a Loom video? Loom is where you can do a video and you've got your little circle of you and you're talking through as you're building. I said, can you like do a Loom video next time, mate? Because I might need to do that. The VA might need to do it. Our intern, our account manager might need to do it. So like record your processes, yeah? Especially if it's something that, you know, they always like do it so you don't have to do it again. When you do it once, do it in a way that someone else can do it. Because whether your business is right at the beginning and you're thinking, oh, I don't know when I'll be able to hire, you might get an influx next month and be able to hire. Okay, it's very possible. So just build it in that way. Set deadlines and schedules. If you only have deadlines and schedules that are set to you by others, employers, you know, on this program, whatever, then you're always going to work for other people. And that's been one of my strengths. I remember through COVID, yeah, cool. You know, everything's locked off, whatever. You know, I think I was still part-time in at the gym that time, still had a few clients there whilst running my online businesses. And I said straight away, first thing, I'm going to set my schedule. All right, in the mornings, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this. And it just gives you just that power and that power over your life to be, you know, I've always got things to do. I've got deadlines, and especially when you're building up the business as well. So, you know, we've got the right idea, we've got the plan, we've got organization there. So what is the deadline to the next thing? So like KB, she's got a launch, you know, then she's gonna have like a deadline to hit, you know, 1,000 people outreach to, or whatever, or deadline to when she's got to get her ads running or whatever it may be. Okay. And then this is an acronym someone taught me called TFR, tips for not good, for those not good with managing time and energy. Hey, I think this is an ever growing thing. I'm forever refining my process, but I do have like a schedule that I have Google Calendar, so I use that like quite religiously. But then I also write my schedule out in a Google sheet and a doc as well. And I just have like, you know, from nine. I have basically what my perfect day looks like. Okay. I know some people tell you check like review a whole day and go every 5 minutes. It's basically called time blocking. But I've got what a perfect day looks like hour by hour. And I've got three versions of that because there's days where I go to the gym, there's days where I don't go to the gym, and there's weekends. So I've got three versions of that. I typically focus on one of them. And then for that, anything that's like is including a meeting or whatever as well, it just goes into my Google Calendar. If I need to remember something, I schedule an email to myself. Yeah, if it's something that's like, you know, yeah, I can put it in the calendar, but if it's something just time specific or it's just for the next day or something like that, it's not going to be recurring, schedule email, so on and so forth. But it's something that you just start small and just keep building on, okay? Because it's always going to be more that you can do when it comes to being organized and time management. That could be a whole webinar. But TFR stands for take final responsibility, especially as business owners. When you're selling or pitching something to someone or trying to get something, especially if you do like a one-to-one sort of service, people will delay making key decisions. So I always take that responsibility of when are we meeting again? When can you make the decision by? When are you going to send me this folder? Right? Because people love to leave things in limbo. Oh yeah, cool. So we're just going to have a talk with our team and then we'll get back to you. Not me, mate. You're not getting back to me. What's the date? What's this? Because you understand? And it's just living in a place of certainty. And that's just my standards that I keep. So it's not rude. It's just, okay, you know, and you just say that in a polite way. So I think it's really important to just always have these deadlines and schedules. Okay. Cool. So as we come to the end, profit first. Okay. This is a great saying I love. Revenue feeds the ego, profit feeds the family. Okay. And when you're thinking of your business structure and your business model and your day-to-days, just be relentless in protecting this. I've made a reference to this word a few times, relentless, meaning that you have to put emotions to the side, you have to put feelings and, you know, being nice to the side, and you have to be aggressive in protecting the fact that our profit has to come first. Okay, because it's not about what people see or the shiny stuff. It's about the profit at the end of the day that's going to allow this business to function well. It's going to allow this business to continue. If, you know, hopefully you're building this business with the good of the world at the center of it, and you're just thinking about really helping a certain cause like KB, you know, your meaning behind your business is super powerful. But in that, you have a responsibility to protect the profitability of this business so that you can actually achieve those goals. Do you get what I mean? So you have to really be relentless in saying that, okay, what decisions have to be made? And this is why you see big CEOs, big businesses sack 50 people, 100 people, thousands of people. Like I think Klarna had to do the other day. And it's like, it's heartbreaking, it's sad, it's whatever, but they are just relentless in understanding that, well, it's either that or the business goes under. What would you rather? Right? And you might not care, but the business has to, because then you're not going to have a job and then the business is going to go under anyway. So we have to make these decisions. So I always think that, well, I don't ever want to get to that place. So I'm just going to be relentless from now in. And we had to do that last year. Like literally, obviously it wasn't at that scale, but we had a lot of people who were paying their full time, but that just weren't, they were just, they weren't really making a bill and they weren't actually, fulfilling, they were just coasting as well. Okay. They was really just coasting. And we're a place where we're growing. Yeah, we're making a bit of money, but we're growing and we're trying to build something great here. And we had to let people go. Do you get what I mean? So now from the start, I'm very on the ball with a profit, with a monthly cash flow. And like I said, let profit be your mentor because we all strive for like mentors or know that there's a benefit in having a mentor. But the profitability, just that one word in itself, is going to teach you a lot about what direction you should go down. Do you get what I mean? If there's no profit in something, you might want to do it as a Saturday hobby, and not actually put your life into it. So, or there's something that needs to be changed about it, right? So profit first is a big one. Cool. Retention, 1 into 3. Let's say profit disappeared tomorrow. Would your business still matter to people? No, Mike. That's a good, insightful question. I'd like to know a bit more about that. Feel free to unmute and kind of explain some insights on that, Joshua. You said no mic. So you ain't got no mic. All right, cool. Retention equals 1 into 3. So under promise, over deliver. This is very important. For example, even if you have a tech app, I know that you might have your MVP or you might have done your first launch, and there's a lot of iterations. Like when you're building software and stuff like that, that's one of the hardest things to get right because people don't realize that user experience. There's so much that goes into just making it actually clean, right? So under promise, doesn't matter what business model you're in, I would say under promise, over deliver. Try and keep the promises quite humble and just hold back, and then just always be pushing to deliver and to give a better customer experience. Systemize customer satisfaction. So an example for like an online coach or a PT is that, when we'll sign up a client, we'll give them a gift. And I could get my VA to, order it on Amazon. You can even like automate that to some degree where, on Amazon automatically you get this type of gift, or maybe you have a booklet, a free booklet with your branding on it or whatever. That's now become a system. It's not you having to like actually go to someone's house and, knock and bring them a fruit basket, but it's going to increase that happiness of that customer and that positive relationship with them and your company. And that can go a long way. Okay, have standout customer experience and implement a referral strategy. Yeah, when I started toning down my online coaching business, my personal one, I was still actually getting, and that because what I really toned down was the lead generation side of it, but I was still getting new clients come in, for thousands of pounds because they were referring, and I'd already kind of built this system of referring. You get money for it, and then I'll ask somebody at the end of a call, or when anyone has had a positive experience with us, I would ask them if they know anyone. So, if you do a good job with one customer, that customer should turn to 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've talked about all the other a lot of other aspects of the business, but retention is key. Anyone can get someone to buy something once, but it's about just making sure that they stay, they go again. So I think this second point is the biggest one: systemize customer satisfaction. Because a lot of us, we try and overdo to really serve our clients, but I don't think you should overdo it. I think you should systemize some little small key touch points that just give someone a great experience when they're working with you. Yeah, cool. Utilize social media on the last couple of points. So utilize content on social media. Build a story brand. Okay. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Who here has like a personal brand or pursuing the whole personal brand approach? No? Okay, interesting. Yeah, so personal brand is like the new thing. It's the best thing everyone's, it's the best thing since sliced bread. I don't think you have to build a personal brand. It's definitely a beneficial long-term play. I think everyone should build it on a long-term perspective. Use your LinkedIn, use your Instagram, kind of let people know, try and document what you're doing. But your business doesn't have to be attached to a personal brand. I don't think that's always the best thing to do because then you're tied to it. So you can just build a brand separate for the business. But regardless, storytelling content is going to be key. Okay, so tell your story of why your brand is the one for people to get behind. If you've got a social cause behind it, both the companies that I've heard of today, Kira's and KB's, they both have like this deep root of where it's come from. And I think that's important to tell across your social media and try and get that emotion across of why. Because it's interesting, when you tell it to somebody, you get to say it for yourself. There's always that, okay, I'm bought in, I support this, I respect this business. But that's because you've told me, you've been able to give me that one-to-one experience of why this is so powerful versus when you're on social media, you're just like, oh, check out our new button that we've added to the website. Or, now we do this. This is how easy it is to sign up. Where I think that you want to try and capture those moments. I think another key thing or like a gem is clipping as well. Some people actually do clipping on social media to just monetize, where they'll just get a clip of what, I don't know, some celebrity said that, and they'll just repost that on their YouTube or on their Instagram, and they'll just use that to get views. But I think not enough companies are using that for their own benefit. So if, you've got something about like consent, or there's like a artist who's talking about how they weren't making any money off of blah, blah, blah. Like I think Snoop Dogg, there's a clip that comes to my mind when he's talking about how he wasn't making any money from Spotify. You might clip that and use that on your page. And then you can get so many versions of that. Do you know what I mean? And now you've got endless content that you didn't even have to make yourself. Do you know? Or you can talk about other people's instances as well. So just look at what content style fits your business best and definitely use it and utilize it. Number 13, so me and Eduardo was talking about this at the start, consider a VA. When I started YOUNQ, I had YOUNQ in my mind for a long time. And this year I fully said that I want to get started because I did that Boys Mean Business project at a school near where I went to school. And the first thing I did is I said, I've been thinking about this for a while. I need to get a VA. I have VAs in our businesses, across our businesses, account managers, team members, whatever. But personally, I had to get someone for myself that I'm paying. And this was because I knew, sorry after this off, no worries at all. I knew that I didn't have the time to invest into both my businesses I'm already running and the CIC. So for me personally, I hired a VA, okay? And that person, what helps is, where I mentioned about being organized, because I was able to build a company manual, standard operating procedures, everything. And I'm about to wrap up on the last slide. I was able to build all of these things and get that person working. So that while I'm working on all my other businesses, the VA is able to help push the CIC forward, and so much is able to be done. And I think because of the fact we have AI now, it's like a VA on steroids, because I've had VAs from years and years back, and it was very, a lot of time it was very babysitting and so on and so forth, right? But nowadays it's very different. So as soon as you are in a place of hiring, when you're looking at hiring, don't get me wrong, nothing beats having someone on the ground in the UK. That is great, but until you're at a place where you're ready for that responsibility, cash flow wise, I would definitely consider a VA. Okay. You can hire in a lean way. You can use Upwork and online jobs, onlinejobs.ph. I think there's one for SA, which is South Africa as well. $4 to $7 an hour you can be paying, and a lot of them can be super flexible with you. You may not be able to hire someone full-time straight away. You can get someone for a couple hours a day, and then you're paying maybe, I don't know, 150 to 200 pounds or something like that. So as soon as you're in a place where you're able to do that, I would definitely recommend it. And then using Slack to keep organized. Check out Slack, go on YouTube, look at a video of how to use Slack. It's a really great tool for just like managing communications. So the last thing that I'm going to just talk about as we round up right on the dot of 2 p.m. is marketing hacks. So these are all the different ways you can use for marketing. Marketing is typically, something I'm very big on, and it's like my bread and butter. So you can manufacture going viral. I talked about the clipping beforehand, and I think not enough people realize that you can just create viral, like you can go viral. You don't have to, just bet on it. Do you know what I mean? There's like proven things that make people go viral. So for example, like emotion. Yeah, we've all seen a video where a guy's, giving a homeless person money and doing this, and it kind of touches your heart. Or we've seen a funny video that click, like when call on like human emotions, it does go viral. Do you know what I mean? It does. It's easier to share. It's easier to spread. Okay. Organic outreach is another tool as well. So that's just literally reaching out. I always say knocking on doors isn't gonna ever go out as business that start. People might not do it, but it works. Someone knocked on my door the other day to clean the windows, right? And it just happened. I need that. Do you know what I mean? So it's always going to work just reaching out to people, but the way you do it might be different. Paid advertising, Facebook, Insta, Google, YouTube, LinkedIn, it's not that hard to learn, okay, at a basic level. You can also hire a media buyer as well. So just like how I talked about consider a VA, you can hire a media buyer at the same sort of rates, and a media buyer is someone that will basically show you how to run that. Not show you, will actually run the ads for you. Yeah, you just have to have that basic knowledge so that you can oversee and give them the direction, but they can help to manage your budget. Influencer marketing, which I've spoken about, super important, super good, like depending on your business. You don't have to spend loads of money. You can use micro influencers who have between, I don't know, 10 to 100,000 followers. And, there's like a metric where I think every 100 people you can expect to get one back. So you just got to outreach with that. Email marketing. I think email marketing should always work alongside these other tools. Some people say they can start email marketing business from scratch, or you just, build a business solely using email marketing. But I would probably suggest that you go down the route of just supplementing one of these others. Otherwise, if you need a lot of volume. And then lastly, affiliate marketing. Okay, so using people to help you to scale and grow. All right, you can incentivize them with a percentage of the money you make, or like a free month of use, or whatever it may be. But I'll definitely look at affiliate marketing. Okay, but as I said, just to round up, marketing won't cover up bad product market fit. So just make sure that your product fits the market, or you will struggle with marketing. Okay. So thank you for lending me your ears. I think if anyone's got some spare time, I've got a few minutes. If anyone's got any questions, I'm definitely willing to answer.
Yeah, feel free to fire away, just ask any questions. I think Joshua put a little bit of more information
Oh,
about this
context.
question earlier. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But it's really more, I think, around the balance of profit and the love for what you do in the business and the product that you've made. How do you strike that balance?
Okay, so let's say profit disappears tomorrow. Would your business still matter to people? Products built for love, not for profit. Yeah, definitely. Like you build it. If you notice that at the start of because like I said, I built the presentation to flow. All right, and from like the start of the business and why you're starting it till the later. And I think, look, man, it's definitely important to build something that you have passion. I think that's the slide where I talked about build your dream business, because it fits with your lifestyle. Like I'm not going to do a business selling cigarettes because that's going to go against my morals and everything like that, right? I'm going to build a business that I love, it fulfills me, stuff like that. But then after, as soon as you've got that part, switch to profit mode. Do you get what I'm trying to say to you? Like switch to profit mode. Because all the biggest businesses in the world right now, they are aggressive with profit, even to a detriment. Now, like some of them, it's a bit annoying. Like Apple, for example, is probably the biggest company in the world, and they're just profit masters. That's all they know. That's all they think about. Do you get what I mean? So we don't have to do it to that extent, but profit, you have to keep it in mind. Kieran, yes.
When you were, I guess, going through that firing process and the coasting thing, and then the other part, so it's two part, and then the part with the like VA and everything from it. How did you navigate that? So, for example, we've got an intern that's been hired for only just coming up to 2 months now, and seeing similar coasting where I'm like the additional value that we was expecting to get from having you in there is not serving from that. It actually might be more beneficial to have a VA that would be able to assist and I can just fill her like positioning in that like space and it'd work out for half of the cost.
Yeah.
I guess from a business sense, how did you go about navigating that process?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good question, man. I think that we let it get too bad to the point that it was like it was easier to do it, which I think is not even good. It should at a part where it's hard. That's when you gotta, go for a walk. Do you know what I mean? Get your thoughts together, get in the zone, and just have that real grown conversation. Versus when you're so annoyed because you just spent, pay this person a 30K salary or whatever it was at the end of the year, and then you're thinking you didn't even do this and that and so on and so forth. Right? So yeah, have the hard conversation, man. Have the hard conversation. You do have to look at yourself as a leader, though. Like you have to really. That was one of the key things for us. I always look at myself first, blame myself first, and think, am I guiding this person in the right way? But typically, you mentioned when I showed that organization slide that, like, no, like that's you. Like it makes you feel. So you're probably not a bad leader. Do you get what I mean? Or the worst leader. So if you're feeling something's off, then like we said, profit, man. So honestly, I want everyone to succeed. So yeah, definitely like build a business you love, all of that stuff. But just think of the profit as well, man. Keep that in mind. And at the end of the day, just do it gracefully. And then I think that, if it's meant to be, she'll probably get a better job or she'll do this or that, she'll move on. But you have to protect that business. Cool.
Do
Yep.
we have any other questions?
Any last questions from anyone?
Yeah.
Anyone good?
Sorry, I just got one. When it comes to like reinvesting that profit back into your business, how do you know where to like draw the line between where to draw the line really?
It's a good question. Working percentages. Percentages will keep your emotion out of it. Do you get what I mean? Because if you're just going by emotion, it will sound not much like, if we put in this much, then we make this much. Do you get what I'm trying to say, Shu? Versus percentages kind of putting you in check. So if you say, all right, marketing budget shouldn't really go past 30%. Do you get what I mean? 30% of profit or 30% of what's in blah, 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 what's coming in, right? Then that always kind of keeps you in check because nothing should really go past that 30-40% line in terms of one area of investing. And there will be some differences because, for example, when we was building, see, we're building, if you're making like, I don't know, 3K, 5K a month or whatever, you're just in the building stage, then, you can't really be too picky about, okay, I'm only going to put in 20%, 30%. So it might be a bit higher, it might be 50, but as much as you can just try and keep it within or know that you're aiming to get to those percentages, that's the best thing. Because then just play the long game and don't over commit, Do you get what I'm saying? And what it does is it keeps you resourceful, like when you started with nothing. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Which is the best thing. So it just keeps you humble as you build, and those percentages will just equate to more money that you can invest anyway. Does that help? Does that answer the question? Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Right. Amazing. I think that's it. I think no one saying that.
Yeah, I think that should be our last question for the day. And again, thank you so much, Michael. That was such an enriching session, and I'm sure everyone will agree. And I'll be uploading the session as well on the page if you want to go back and have a look at it again. And just again, about the pitching, I just want to remind everyone that if in case you only have attended one masterclass, there are two last ones coming up. The pitching workshop counts as a masterclass. So, and if you haven't done any mentoring, go to the Launch It Digital Pioneers page on our website and see how you can book those mentoring sessions because you don't want to miss that opportunity to pitch for some funding. Because normally you'd go to these events, you attend like 50, 60 people pitching. In this one, we'll probably have less. And lots of more chances for you to hopefully get some grant. And yeah, that would be in September. And again, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Michael. And we'll see you again at the next session, first Wednesday of August, and it'll be all about data analytics and SEO. So we'll see you there.
All
Bye,
right.
everyone.
Everyone, take care.